Okay guys, here we go. Game is starting on Old Country against European team against the LRKT team. Terran versus Terran Zerg. This is game 2 of best of 3 series of the Bring Your Ally tournament sponsored by Baz. Thanks and great shout out to him. And here we go guys. So in the top team here we have Skorpio as the green Terran and VegetaBraHH as the pink Terran. Bottom team we have Lillekanin as the red Terran and Knight as the teal Zerg. So let me talk a little bit about this map here. So as you guys remember here, Old Country has these destructible rocks in the middle of the map. So it's very hard to do one-base rushes on this map. However, you don't need to underestimate these things, because pretty much if you do like a two-base timing, it's just as strong. Even with the rocks, they just die really fast. So there's no point in pretending that it's like an island map or something of that sort. So you really need to focus on getting your eco going as fast as possible and then stopping any kind of pressure that's coming on. So what I'm expecting here is I'm still going to expect like one turn going at like a very greedy play and the other one going for a very pressure play, like a 1-1-1. And I'm still expecting Lillekanin to go for a 1-1-1 style, maybe delay the starport in favor of a CC, squeeze it in there. He is going for that 11 gas, and we're also seeing none of the Terrans actually going for 11 gas. Maybe here we go. No, it looks like he might be going CC first. So we have one going exactly that 12-12. So this could be like a Reaper opening and then into a 1-1-1. And instead the other Terran is going to go for CC first. And the Zerg is going to go for a 15 hatch, but there's no surprise there. So overall, this is turning out very standard, expected from both teams. I like here how the Terran is sending the SCV to the gold, and he's going to get his expansion here at the gold. Oh my god, these guys trolling. Okay, just for you guys know, Hanfi is one of Lillekanin's allies that he plays with. This is a Danish player from the European server, and his ally is in fact American. He's not European Hanfi player. I think Hanfi is German, if I'm not mistaken. It's not Hanfi. I can 100% confirm it is not Hanfi. Kenneth is not Hanfi. They're just trolling, so guys, just ignore this. Let's focus on the game here. We do see here that he is going for a double Rax Reaper opening, so that served him well last game, although I'm not sure if this is going to be the good choice. He is going for actually a Lillekanin build, this double gas, and then going for the reactor, so he's actually doing a build that the red Terran Lillekanin does very often, whereas he's still going for the second gas and going for that 1-1-1. So this is going to be really interesting, because Lillekanin, Stefan here, aka Stefan, he's going to be playing against a build that he actually uses a lot on the European ladder. So he's very comfortable with this build. We're going to see if he can actually counter this. A little bit of a supply block here, but he's actually doing a very good job. And we're seeing here that after that early command center, the factory is indeed coming up for the green Terran. And whereas the Zerg is just pumping out drones right now, the early game, there's not going to be too much action here until these Reapers start rolling in here. And I'm hoping that they do eventually come in to scout here, because they need to see what's going on here. This Reaper is desperately trying to figure out what Lillekanin is doing, because he doesn't know if it's a 1-1-1 with a drop, like a Hellion drop, or if it's going to be a 1-1-1 with Cloak Banshee. Although, knowing Lillekanin, 70 to 80% of the time in this kind of situation, on this typical map, he'll generally go for the Banshee. So they might be just gambling on the fact that it's going to be a Banshee. Although we're not seeing any static defense, we are seeing here the engineering bay go down. So he might make a turret for himself and then one for his ally as well. But we're coming now down to the point where the next wave of Reapers are joining out with the first. So this is going to be very dangerous here for Lillekanin if he doesn't get his Hellion out here. And it's going to be down. It's going to draw down to the micro here. Can he pick off this Hellion? Yes, Hellion gets the splash damage, but it's a light unit, so it just can get popped instantly by 5 Reapers here. So he's just hugging the Hellion with the Marines, trying to stall as much as possible, and the Cloak is already halfway done here. Top team is also going for a 1-1-1. I think it's going to be some Hellions and Banshees, so this is, he's sort of committing to both. I guess the Hellions, he's just building it as he goes along, but he's really focusing on this Cloak Banshee. No, he's not. Okay, so he did a swap, but he did decide to get for the Viking. I think the problem here with this build is he initially wanted to go for a Cloak Banshee, but in seeing that this was going to indeed be like a 1-1-1 with Cloak Banshee, he decided to just opt to go for that Viking as soon as possible. Because there's a lot of things he could have done. He also could have done the Medivac drop with those 4 Hellions. The Reapers are coming over here, and they're not going to. They might get some picks off here. There's one drone falls down, but there's 3 queens out, and the roaches are on its way. And even just with like 3 or 4 roaches, he can shoo these Reapers away. And he committed a lot of gas to this. And this is the problem with his 2 Rax Reaper. I really would have liked to see a 1-1-1 opening from one of the turns, and the other one go just really like 3 base, very heavy. This is sort of like a hybrid between pressure and eco. Like you want to be more decisive. One player goes more eco and the other one goes more harass. Instead, it seems that both players are opting to go for both routes at the same time. This is going to spread themselves a little thin. Here comes now the third CC. This is exactly what he needs to do. Good move by Skorpio. He needs to just eat up this map because he's going to have to fend off the growing economy of this Zerg, and this Zerg is going to have a massive lead here now that he's taken also this gold. The lair is coming down. The Reapers did delay the lair and the Muta progression because he had to put down the Roach War and get some roaches just to make sure that he's safe, but at what cost? His ally is now really behind in tech. Factory needs to be finished here. This Banshee is doing a lot of work here. It's just stalling. It's just zoning them out here. The Raven is out, so that's going to be cleaned out. And it looks like the Terran here, the top Terran, the green Terran, is probably going to go for some mech play. So we're going to have him going mech and the pink Terran going bio. And it's probably the right choice because although the mech's only going to come out in like at least 3 or 4 more minutes, it'll give him plenty of time with his eco. And the pink Terran here is a little bit behind in eco, but that's not a big issue because he can still do damage if he gets at least like some good medivac drops with bio forces in them. So it's anyone's game right now, and we're just going to see here how everyone transitions at this stage of the game. Both players here, I like here the Reapers, the use of them, he's just spreading them around here in patrol, making sure that there's no drops or no other Banshees floating around. And Lillekanin, his expo just finished, but if he's going to go mech at this stage, he also really wants to get in a 3rd command center. It's not as desperate as this command center here, because his Zerg is the one that has the bigger macro and the big eco right now. So Zerg is going to have to sort of match up the army of the green Terran, whereas Red only has to match up the army of the pink Terran. But still, if you're going mech, you really want to be off of as many gases as you want. And you can already see here the roaches are working on that gold, because that's probably where the 3rd CC is going to head over in short amount of time. We're also seeing here that their top team is working on their gold, and they're getting another CC here as well. So I was a little bit too critical here at the start of the game on this opening here. It seems that the top team is stabilizing into the correct pattern right now, into the correct mid-game. And they need to, because once these rocks open up, it's going to be all man's land. There's going to be constantly back and forth here with Hellion run-bys and slow pushes of the mech, and it's going to turn into this very long game. So both players need to really stabilize on their base play and their macro if they want to be able to progress into the late game. Now the Mutas are coming in here, and we're going to see how well defended the top team is. He already sees something here with the Zelnaga tower, so he's putting down some extra turrets. And I don't see he doesn't have a Thor yet out, but between the one Viking and the Raven and these turrets, he should be fine. Also, I like here this little play. The Banshee is in range of the Viking. It's going to get picked off. A little bit of a misplay there from Lillekanin, losing that Banshee, but he did get some scouting information. And this is what I was talking about. This is exactly what Pink needs to be doing. This is perfect. He just needs to distract, needs to now lift and get out of there, and try to work on these mutas, not engage when there's the ground forces as well. But he's constantly have to do these kinds of drops, these kinds of plays to keep the Zerg on the defensive and not have the mutas swoop in the top side of the map. He wants the mutas at home defending versus drops. The mutas are going to come over here again and work on. Now that the 4 base Zerg is starting to roll out, he feels confident in opening up these rocks and putting on some pressure. And the 3rd base here is still... This is another problem with Terran. You need to coordinate as to when to get rid of these rocks. Because these rocks need to go. If you just have Hellions, it's really hard to kill them. So generally, it's always some of an issue if you don't have a lot of forces at home, if the bio is outside dropping. And the mutas here being very annoying here to these gases. This is going to be sting somewhat, because the mech player, again, he wants all his gas. Yes, he's getting the minerals from the gold, but at this point, It's these Thors and siege tanks, which are really going to be the bulk of his army. We're also seeing here a nice little sensor tower. Since they have map superiority, the sensor tower is right at the edge, so there's no worry of it being picked off by anything. And the double armory rolling out. This is in response to the drop that he saw here, so it's a good play, it's a good gas investment. I think it's worth it, especially because he wants to make sure there's like no drops here on these edges here of his base and then threaten his infrastructure. We're seeing now that the Beastie QT with the Troll, and we're also seeing here that the Mutas are starting to he's starting to fall back from the Mutas into a ground composition. So he's transitioning into late game Zerg here and switching his tech up, which he needs to do now because in a straight up battle against all these Thors, the Mutas are probably not going to be that solid of a choice. And good positioning here, slow move here by Lillekanin. We've seen on this map a lot of times that once you get secure this middle center and you can divide, segmentate the bottom half of the map into, you can sort of start putting pressure on the other expos. So that's sort of what he wants to do. He wants to make sure contest this Zelnaga tower, get these areas where he can siege up the high ground and start attacking here this side of base. So Skorpio is doing exactly what Lillekanin did in the other game. It was very good, and this is what you need to do with mech. And as long as they stay together, it's good. At the same time, we're seeing here that there's a flank being set up by the Zerg, and they might do a pincer. Here, the pincer is moving in. They're moving from both sides, and it's doing a great job. A lot of the DPS here, the squishies were in the back and getting eaten up by the Hellbats, and so the tanks were all vulnerable here from the front side, and now the Mutas just fleeing in, and all the units just getting annihilated here from the bottom team. Great sandwich play there from the bottom team. Early 20th century strategists in Europe would be proud of them, and unfortunately the top team, Terran is regarded as sort of chess on steroids here, are struggling really to outplay or to stay one move ahead of the bottom team, and unfortunately it looks like the top team is going to be on the back foot from the rest of the game unless they really capitalize on having more bases. They have to play now very safe and start really pushing the game into late game, like air Terran, battle cruisers, Ravens, nukes, stuff like that. But we're seeing here that the Zerg has the upgrades going, so it's going to be hard here, especially if we see some Viper play, some Swarm hosts. Anything that the Zerg throws out at this stage is going to be so annoying. There's so many turrets here. He has minerals to spare, but he doesn't want to put his gas to use on that in defending. A little engagement here. Now that the Mutas were out of place, they're pushing here through the front, and Lillekanin's tank's getting caught off guard here, getting cleaned up, and so therefore he's just doing a run-by around the army to try and harass all these areas over here. So this is good play. They're both playing really well. Like I said, once the rocks fall down here in the middle, it's going to be back and forth here through the middle and then contesting these areas here with your mech. I like also the way Lillekanin just blind, like he pretty much didn't doubt. Like sometimes you see Lillekanin go into bio and then feed gas to the Muta, but this time he just went for the mech. The double Terran, there's some Terrans that love to go double bio, but he saw from the last game, he got a feel for his opponents. He just decided to go mech here, and this is the right course, because this mech is the only thing that's really keeping the scary mech here from Skorpio from barreling through the middle. And we're also seeing that their bases are getting mined out, so the mains here are starting to mine out, and Ultralisks here on the way. I'm not sure about this choice here from Knight. Ultralisks are great tanks, it's great for the frontal pushes, but maybe something a little bit more cost efficient like Swarm Host against this this mech army would have been a little bit better. I think he wanted to capitalize on his lings and banelings that he already made. He wanted to synergize them with something. We're seeing a little drop here, but it's going to get cleaned up because of the sensor tower saw it in time. And here we've got the run-by on the planetary fortress. This stuff cannot die. It's very susceptible to being killed here, and it goes down, and he might have even just baned on that command center, but instead he wants to save his banes, doesn't want to get caught here, trying to escape, and that's a lot of gas they're invested in there, so he wants to keep that alive. Also, we see here that Lillekanin is starting to chase these bio pushes. Bio player is the one that scales the least of the four players in the late game, so he wants to just throw as many units as he can. He just wants to constantly crank out units and just go for these kinds of doom drops. He scans, he sees that there's tanks sieged up, so instead he opts to drop over here And he needs, at this stage, to just lift up. He can't just sack these units here, because the mutas are going to come in soon and clean this up. He boosts there, but 2 or 3 of the medivacs fall down, and he's trying to come back here to the safety and sanctuary of the Thors of his ally. And another good thing here that Knight could do is get some Nidus going. He does have great Overlord vision and creep spread here on the top left side of the map, so he can see at any given time when his opponent is trying to expand, and they can keep tabs on the economic state of their allies. We also see that Knight has a gigantic bank, so with this kind of unit comp, I think he wants to capitalize on mobility, so Nidus might be a good choice. Mutas are definitely being their money's worth here, just being very annoying, and it's because of these mutas, these constant harassments at the top side, like this one again, that this mech army he's just so infuriated, he just can't get through here. He's like, each time he tries to push forward and try to siege up, Knight just goes through the other lane and starts confronting here his spy army, and here you see this is a very dangerous move that he's doing. He's leaving half his tanks over here, and he's moving the Hellbats and the Thors over here to clean up the Zerg. And Zerg now actually has an opportunity to loop around and join in with Red Terran and push on these tanks, but Red Terran instead is chasing some phantoms over here. He seems to be gung-ho about looking for something over here on this side. Maybe he anticipated a big drop, he saw some medivacs floating around or something. So instead, he's coming back now over here, joining up with the siege tank line. This siege tank line, look at this, is so scary. It's going all the way from the hatchery to the Zelnaga tower. There is no room for error. I think he just wanted to zone out, make sure that his CC here comes and lands, and he gets his next economy, because his main is mined out, his natural is starting to mine out, and this gold mines out faster than you think, so he needs to get more of these command centers going. And here, he's already sending some SCVs to get exposed. Knight was too fast. He's like, nope, sorry, I need this. I have gigantic bank, but I need to keep that bank going here. And Red Terran's actually bank is pretty small. He does have gas. That's why he's also not so aggressive. That's why he probably didn't even go on these tanks over here. He wanted to play a little bit safer. He's just scared of, trading his army at this stage, because he doesn't really know the kind of bank that the Green Terran has. Massive bank over here. We're seeing some harassment, but Green Terran, on the other hand, he wants to find the engagement. He wants to trade cost efficiently right now, because he knows he has bank. He knows he can replenish. These clumped up Ultralisks are going to take massive damage from the Ultras. They're just going in here. They're all clumped, taking so much damage. It's not very cost efficient. We need some kind of tech switch. The Swarm Hosts are a great idea. We need to bring them over on the other side. And here, the slow advancement here. Both players attacking the weaker sides, the fresh areas on the right side. Here, one of the observers is talking about Broodlords and Festers. I know, I'm not 100% sure about that. It would allow the Terrans to transition to air easier. And that's something they want in the late game regardless. And I think right now the Swarm Host, especially against the Bio, is just generally a more cost-efficient trade. I mean, they're in a good position either way. And it looks like here there's exchanges blow after blow, and it looks like Lillekanin's siege tank line has just been decimated into half. He dropped 100 supply, and just not sure about this slow tank advancement. We need some air, like the mutas. Maybe one of the observers was right, we need some Broodlords over here to slow advance. The Swarm Hosts are just not pushing fast enough through here. There's so many vulnerable tanks here with no support. If this gets cleaned up, it's going to be a massive hit to the top team. And here come the Vipers. Vipers picking off some of the tanks. They're getting decimated instantly, and he realizes now something is up. He can either pull back here or just keep rolling forward. Pink Terran here doing a great job at constantly dropping this little weaker side here and sniping off these hatcheries. And it looks like here the tanks are joining up with the Bio, and Zerg is trying to loop around, cutting off the retreat area, and that way he will split the reinforcements from the main siege tank line. But this is really dangerous, because as the Locust goes south, the Swarm Host will be vulnerable to a scan and then a quick Bio cutoff here, but Knight sees that, and so instead he just unbarrows here and tries to back off here. And it looks like this Bioforce was on a rally, not on a move, so he didn't get any of the Swarm Hosts here. More of the hatcheries fall down. Knight, who's the one with the bank, is starting to dwindle now, as he doesn't have any resources, and he's been dumping everything into making his army. Lillekanin here has some isolated planetary fortresses, but he could never really secure that. I don't think Knight realized how vulnerable Lillekanin was in terms of his economic supply and how he needed constant reinforcements, and he needed to secure the right side. Same time, we're seeing here these desperation moves from Lillekanin, trying to get as much economy as possible. You know, if the opponents, if I get it, the opponents can't get it, so why not? Here, a lot of Raven transitions, not bad. In late game double turn, one of the turns needs to transition into air eventually, just like Lillekanin's doing. Viking Raven, and if Pink does it, since he was the one going bio, it's even better because his army doesn't scale as well. So this is actually going to be very good. Look at all the PDDs and the Seeker Missiles on all those Vipers. Now he's trying to save the Vipers as much as possible. Oh my god, all the Vipers get hit there. Only 3 survive. Such good Seeker Missiles here. And more Seeker Missiles going over on this side here. More PDDs. Great play from both players. And I'm really amazed here. Top team is doing excellent job here. And now that they're slowly transitioning into the air, there's really nothing that the bottom team can do. Lillekanin is like trying to save his SCVs here. Green Terran's being very passive, very undecisive here with his army, but he knows that once he's on creep, there's a lot more big danger. He cannot lose this army. He's just playing it safe and slow. That's the way he needs to do it. And Pink keeps dropping on this side. Good job from Pink, keeping the opponents diverted and split as the mech here starts barrel rolling through the middle. Looks like they're just going to starve out the opponents as the supply here starts dwindling. We're already seeing red down to 100 supply again, and his infrastructure is getting hit hard here. And he only really has like these Hellbats that can be kited, and he doesn't really want to waste Seeker Missiles on this kind of stuff. We're also seeing the Vikings here zoning out the Ravens of the bottom team. And the PDs here zoning out the hits from the Locusts. At this stage, these Swarm Hosts are absolutely doing nothing. Between this gigantic tank line and the Ravens here with the PDDs, Swarm Hosts are just stalling, are just forcing this army to stay in this position, but not getting actually any tanks killed. Look at that Seeker Missile. Killing those Ravens. More Seeker Missiles. Very good job here from the top team. The bottom team is trying to make something happen, but I don't see it happening right now. We have no bases here mining for them except for this middle one that's like barely being saturated here. And now the Mutas realize that there's nothing here to defend except those Vikings. Now sees the Vikings. They sort of temporarily were in the back there. He's trying to pick off some of the tanks. Vipers pulling some of the tanks. It's a slow and agonizing trench war here. Can they make something happen? I think it's also very amusing here how Lillekanin has still managed to secure that
hey guys
there. And I think Pink is sending a Bioforce now to clean that up. More Vipers here pulling. Excellent job, excellent job. Look at all those Seeker Missiles. The cost efficiency of these Ravens really paying off here. GG there. GG guys. Great game. A slow victory for the top team, but a victory nonetheless.